Okay, a freilichen Tu B'Shvat, everyone. Thank you, everybody, for coming to our annual Tu B'Shvat Tish. First of all, on this row, we have Davids. The first row, we have Davids. The second row, we have Shlomos. And the third row, we have Shmuel. And then in the back, we have Meir. Meir? Yeah. Okay, come, sit down. Thank you. So I want to speak today about what is appropriate to talk about on Tu B'Shvat. What are you supposed to talk about on Tu B'Shvat? We know that Moshe Rabbeinu, at the end of his life, taught Klal Yisrael Mishnah Torah, Sefer Devarim. When did Moshe begin teaching Mishnah Torah? So Sefer Devarim begins, Vayihi V'ashtei asar chodesh b'echad l'chodesh, on the first day of the 11th month. Moshe began teaching Devarim to Klal Yisrael on the first day of Shvat, Rosh Chodesh Shvat. When did Moshe Rabbeinu pass away? Zayin Adar. So that means Moshe taught Torah at the end of his life for 36 days. 36 days. From Rosh Chodesh Shvat to Zayin Adar. Now another revelation that the Maser Rekech, Reb Lezer Rekech of Amsterdam teaches us is that Sefer Devarim has a certain specific number of psukim. It has 955 psukim. Taf, Kuf, Nun, He psukim. 955 psukim. Now, what pasuk did Moshe start teaching these psukim? So it says, Vayhi ba'arba'im shana, ba'ashtei asar chodesh, be'echad la'chodesh, diber Moshe al b'nei Yisrael, kachal asher tziva Hashem Moshe aleim, acharei ha'koisei, be'ever ha'yardein, Hayil Moshe Be'er Satarazis. On the Transjordan, Moshe began explaining the Torah. So he begins in Pasuk Vav. So the first Pasuk of Devarim that Moshe teaches Klal Yisrael is Hashem Elokeinu Diber Eleinu B'Chayrev Leimar. God told me on Chayrev at Har Sinai as follows. So again, the first couple of psukim are giving you the date and the place. But Moshe doesn't start actually teaching Torah until the 6th pasuk, that Hashem told me on Har Sinai saying. So that's the beginning where Moshe Rabbeinu starts to teach the Torah to Klal Yisrael. He teaches until Zayin Adar. Zayin Adar begins in Parshas Vayelech. Vayelech is the last day of Moshe Rabbeinu's life, the 7th day of Adar. So let's calculate then, how many psukim does Moshe teach from the 6th pasuk in Devarim until Parshas Vayelech? That would be very interesting. So in the Sefer Imrei Noam of Jacob, he brings, if there are 955 psukim in Devarim, which by the way correspond to 955 levels of the Rakia, 955 levels of the Rakia, which is interesting because Tu B'Shvat, the 15th day of Shvat, is the day that Hashem made Makas Arba, the plague of the locust. The plague of the locust corresponds to Hashem's creating of the Rakia, because it's the third to last Makkah. It's the third to last Makkah, and the third statement of creation was the creation of the Rakia. So Tu B'Shvat, really, it was an affirmation of the creation of the heavens. Because again, Tu B'Shvat is the day that Hashem brought Makas Arba, which is the third to last Makkah, and the third statement of creation was Vayomer Elokim Yehi Rakia. There are 955 levels of the Rakia, okay? And Moshe taught these 955 psukim in Sefer Devarim, but the actual Torah that he began to teach on Rosh Chodesh Shvat begins in the 6th pasuk of Devarim, and it ends in Vayelech, for a total of 832 psukim. So over 36 days, Moshe teaches 832 psukim. If you do the math of how many psukim Moshe taught each day of these 36 days, so it's basically he teaches 23 psukim a day, with a remainder of 4. Okay. So let's make a cheshbon, because that means if he teaches 23 psukim a day, which psukim did he teach on Tu B'Shvat? Because Tu B'Shvat is the 15th day of his teaching of the Torah. So the Imrei Noam makes an amazing calculation that Moshe Rabbeinu taught the following psukim on Tu B'Shvat. It would probably be very telling, what did Moshe Rabbeinu save for Tu B'Shvat to teach Klal Yisrael? So we go to Perek Yud Aleph, Pasuk Yud. Ki ha'aretz asher ata ba shama. The land that you're going to, Larishta, to inherit, like Eretz Mitzrayim. It's not like Egypt, Asher Yitzasa Misham, that you left there, Asher Tizra Zaracha, that you will plant seeds, V'hishkisa V'raglecha, and it will be watered by your foot, Kegan Hayarak, like the garden of vegetables. It's not like a vegetable garden that you had in Egypt. V'ha'aretz asher atam oivrim shama Larishta, the land that you're going to inherit, Eretz Harim Uvakais, is a land of mountains, of valleys, Limtar Shamayim Tishtamayim. By the rain of heaven you will drink water. Eretz, it's a land, Asher Einei Hashem Alekecha Doreshasa. It's a land that Hashem seeks out. Tamid Einei Hashem Alekecha Ba. Always the eyes of God are on it. Meireshis Hashana, from the beginning of the year, Ve'ad Achar Shana. So in other words, the psukim that Moshe Rabbeinu teaches on Tu B'Shvat are the psukim about the greatness of Eretz Yisrael. As we know, there's a very big connection between Tu B'Shvat, and many try to enjoy specifically the fruits of Eretz Yisrael. So it's of note and very significant that the psukim that Moshe Rabbeinu teaches on Tu B'Shvat are about the Shevach of Eretz Yisrael. And he goes on to explain V'nasati mitar artzachem be'itai, the Parsha V'haya im Shamaya. The Parsha V'haya im Shamaya, he teaches on Tu B'Shvat. Okay, so we're going to speak a little bit about the Shevach of Eretz Yisrael. As we see that even Moshe Rabbeinu dedicated Tu B'Shvat to speak about the praise of Eretz Yisrael. So I have a new sefer. It's called Shalos Teshuvos Torah Lishma. Shalos Teshuvos Torah Lishma was written with a pen name. It was written by Rav Yecheskel Kachli. The only thing is, never in history was there an individual, Yecheskel Kachli. So obviously it's a pen name. The gematria of Yecheskel Kachli is the name of the Ben Ish Chai. The Ben Ish Chai wrote this under a pseudonym. Shalos Teshuvos Torah Lishma. In the 418th tshuva, Siman Taf Yud Ches, he deals with a very interesting question. Somebody moved in Israel near Tzfas. Right? Your brother lives in Tzfas, yeah? Somebody moved near Tzfas. And the person is asking, far from the city, a few hours, there's a place, it's still in Israel, they have orchards there, and they're very beautiful, delicious, and sweet fruit. And even in other countries that have beautiful fruit, this place has even nicer fruit. My question is, am I allowed to travel there, to spend time, to go there, to enjoy the fruit? Maybe it's like, too indulgent. Maybe it's too decadent. It's not a proper way to spend time. After all, if I'm traveling there, I'm going to lose time from my Siddharim, I'm going to lose time from my learning. Is it proper for me to take off time to travel to this location to enjoy the fruit? Or maybe it's permitted. You know why? Because it's a way of me showing love for Eretz Yisrael. And therefore maybe it's a mitzvah for me to go there. That's the question. In other words, basically it's a waste of time. I could be learning, I could be davening. Or instead I'm going to eat big plump fruit. Is that a good way to spend time? Or maybe it's a proper thing to do. So the Ben Ish Chai says, we find in a Gemara in Eruvin on Daf Lamed, Rabbi Bar Chana said, we used to follow Rabbi Yochanan to eat the fruits of Genosar. How many Rabbanim? 100 Rabbanim would travel there to eat big, plump, sweet fruits. And that's the only reason we went there, to eat the fruits. Says the Ben Ish Chai, what did they go there for? What was the purpose of going there to eat fruits? Says the Ben Ish Chai, B'shvil chibuv Eretz Yisrael. To show love of Eretz Yisrael. To eat the sweet fruits, and their kavanah was l'shem shamayim, and they were all chasidim, they were all kadoshim. So we see that if a person goes to a place in Eretz Yisrael to enjoy the fruit of the land, it's a noble thing to do. So it would come out, look, I always have this question also. Would it be proper, let's say, to take off time to travel in Eretz Yisrael to see the beauty of Eretz Yisrael? And let's say you're doing it to really see and appreciate the Shevach of Eretz Yisrael. It would come out that it's a noble thing to do. Even at the expense, let's say, of other Avodas Hashem. So, this is a very nice tshuva. And then I'm going to end off, I'm going to share with you something I never even realized before, a very beautiful diuk in benching. Did you ever notice in Berachas Hamazon, we say, Hazan es ha'olam, he sustains the world, kulai bituvai. What does bituvai mean? In his goodness. So we're referring to Hashem as first person, second person, or third person? Third person. His goodness. Hu noisein lechem. He gives bread. First person, second person, third person? Third person. Ki hu keozan. He sustains. The whole bracha is third person. Comes the second bracha of Berachas Hamazon. Noi delecha. I thank you. Al shehinchalta, that you bequeathed. V'al shahoit seisanu, and you took out. V'al brischa, and your covenant. V'al toirascha, and your Torah. Why? Why does the first bracha of Shemona Esrei refer to Hashem in third person, and the second bracha in third person? The second bracha in second person. So in the Sefer Higyanei Halacha, he brings from his great-grandfather, the Ishbitzer, was one of the great brilliant Hasidic masters. He says, who wrote the first bracha of Berachas Hamazon? Moshe Rabbeinu. When did he write it? When the man fell down. Who wrote the second bracha of Berachas Hamazon? Yehoshua ben Nun. When did Yehoshua write it? When he got into Eretz Yisrael. Okay, now, what's the difference? The Zohar HaKadosh says, in Parshas Yisro, that by the mitzvah of Bikurim, it says, Higadati hayoim laHashem Elokecha kivasi. Say today to Hashem your God. Why does it say Hashem your God? Why not our God? Why didn't Moshe say our God? Because Hashem wasn't Moshe's God. He was only your God, the people who went in. But he wasn't Moshe's God. Why? Because if you live in Eretz Yisrael, the Gemara says it's like you have a God. If you don't live in Eretz Yisrael, it's like you don't have a God. The Gemara in Ksubah says, Kol mi shadar Yisrael doimeh kemi sheyesh lo Eloka. Anyone who lives in Israel, it's like they have a God. Anyone who doesn't live in Israel, it's like they don't have a God. So therefore, the first bracha of Shemona Esrei, Moshe Rabbeinu, he's writing it as an outsider. So he refers to God in third person. Yeshua ben Nun gets into the land. Noideh lecha Hashem Elokeinu. Al shehinchalta lavoseinu. Eretz chemda Torah chava. So part of the custom of Tu B'Shvat, of tasting the fruits and appreciating the Shevach of Eretz Yisrael, is to yearn to go back to Eretz Yisrael. After all, the Gemara says that the surest sign that Mashiach is coming is when Eretz Yisrael blossoms with fruits. That's why we juxtapose Barei Chaleinu with Tekabah Shofar, the Gemara says. Why? Because when we see Barei Chaleinu, Hashem Elokeinu Hashana Hazois V'Asmei Yisrael Toiva, then we know soon is Tekabah Shofar Gadol Chiruseinu V'Saneis Lekabetz Gol Yoseinu. The Gemara also talks about that when the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, the purity of the fruits ceased. There was a noticeable, marked decline in the taste and the holiness of the fruits in Eretz Yisrael. And therefore, the first sign Mashiach is coming is when you're able to taste sort of the restoration of the original taste. So here we are. We're gathered here, Chaverim, Tzadikim, to taste the fruits. We're hoping that we're going to have a new flavor in the fruits, and it should be a premonition, Be'ezus Hashem, of the coming of the Geula. So we hope to see the fulfillment that after Baruch Aleinu Hashem Elokeinu Hashana Hazois, after Hashem is Mavarech Eretz Yisrael, and all the fruits of the whole world are Nisbarech from the Shefa of Eretz Yisrael, then we should be Zoicha to the Tekabah Shofar Gadol Chiruseinu. Shkoyach everyone. Thank you very much.